I call to order the Board of Trustees regular meeting for March 7, 2023, and the time is now 6 o'clock. Trustee Johnson, would you like to give the invocation?
Sure. I'd like to invite that to me. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for our citizens here and thank you for giving us a free place like Etna Township to live in. We pray that you be with those who protect us, who fight for us, who take care of us. And please be with those families as they miss their loved ones when they're out doing it. Amen.
Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Varian.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here. I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I've got discussion. I want to know why we don't have minutes to approve on this included agenda. This is the second meeting without minutes to approve. The last ones were done approved for December 20th. We're 9 meetings behind. That is not being efficient or transparent to the public that might want to see what's been going on. They should be done by the next meeting. Also, we need updates here. I was contacted by another resident about a drainage issue. Bill Vance apparently left early and would like to know where things stand on that. Again, my request to add reports back onto these meeting agendas has been ignored. It's been, I believe, quite some time since Ms. McKee removed these. This is keeping the board, myself as trustee, along with the public in the dark about the township business. And it includes things like the lawsuit on Maine. It's been 10 months and 0 updates. It's been 10 months with 0 updates about the economic development team that was created and Ms. McKee appointed yourself as. Is there no activity? Shouldn't the board be updated? It's been 6 months with 0 updates on the Scannell issue that the residents on Lynn Road are experiencing. Don't those residents and I as trustee deserve to be updated? It's been 7 months with 0 reports on any board, zoning, roads, anything to this board. Again, you're keeping this board and the residents in the dark. And it's been 1 year and 1 month with only 1 update recently on the union negotiations that Ms. McKee, you appointed yourself head of. This is very concerning and this is not transparent. I recently spoke to our attorney about some issues and concerns I had regarding the union, and we need an executive session on that. He recommended that. And then also road crew hiring. I think we have to have a discussion. We're down to 3 employees from 5. I fear we'll lose more. And would like to get an update on what's going on. Has it been advertised after we approved that? And for over a half a year, all requests to bring in additional aggregators has been ignored. Even our county commissioner, Tim Bubb, stated we should do that. There's no reason not to, and to try to shove Trey Bell down the throats of the residents. I mean, we've got 2 aggregators here tonight that would like to present. There's 2 others that have been asking to present, and they've all been ignored, even as recently as this week. There's no reason to ignore that. We have to do our...
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Per Robert's rules,
Per Robert's
I
rule,
have 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes.
Excuse me, Mr.
Excuse me,
No.
point of order, we have
Oh,
10 minutes.
point of order. We
Point
are
of
going
order.
with 3 minutes, and that's
No.
exactly what we've
Look
been
at your
going with.
agenda, you don't institute that rule until later in the
We
meeting.
are going for 3
No, ma'am.
minutes. Stop
I-
trying to swindle
No,
through stuff,
ma'am,
Mr. Evans.
Robert's rule.
No, it's not.
10 minutes.
We adopted it, the 3
So,
minutes, so we
on
can
the-
continue.
On the fiscal officer appointment, why is this on the agenda? Did you ask
Mr.
her?
Evans, I'm gonna
There's
ask
no
you
reason
again.
for that. I have 10 minutes per Robert's
No,
rule
you
and I
don't,
will
Mr.
use it.
Evans. You have 3 minutes.
So again, the meeting materials were withheld from me until I sat down at this podium. That is improper. So I move to amend the agenda to add under new business, 1, presentation by Brenda Fargo of NOPEC on aggregation, and John Thyberg of Aspen Energy. Number 2, a brief discussion on Mr. Omar's, the residents' drainage concerns on Tollgate. Number 3, a brief discussion on ensuring that those we contract with fulfill their requirements. Number 4, update on filling the road crew open positions. And to remove old business, the trouble motion to approve trouble agreements and replace it with a discussion on aggregation and scheduling a workshop to allow presentations by others, and to add an executive session, which was recommended by our attorney, on the union negotiations per ORC 121.22G4.
Is that it? Okay. Died for lack of second. Roll call, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move to set the limit of not more than one speech of 3 minutes length at the same question on the same day for each trustee. Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Evans?
Yes. See here, Ms. McKee, this is what allows the limitation of 3 minutes. Per Robert's rules, the limitation is 10 minutes. So you're clearly confused,
No, I'm not.
or
confused.
you just want to
don't work
keep
well
me
with
quiet.
others.
Ms. McKee, this is my time.
You don't work well with others.
And so there would be no reason to limit it if that was already the rule. So again, this is just to limit speech. I have no problem with 3 minutes. If things are presented prior to the meeting, we can go through it and handle things diligently, but they aren't. And having one statement is a statement. That's not a discussion. Discussion should be back and forth. So I move to amend the motion to strike the text of not more than one speech, leaving the 3 minute limit. We should have a discussion, not make statements.
So that died for the lack of second. Roll call, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes on the agenda. Please come up to the podium and state your name and the address.
Good evening.
Hi.
Thank you. My name's Brenda Fargo. I'm with NOPEC. My address is 25578 Amarine Road. That's in South Bloomingville, Ohio. I'm here to talk about aggregation. I know that's on your agenda tonight, and you're addressing the approach to aggregation through a consultant relationship. NOPEC's a little different. Not to say that a consultant is a bad thing, it's not. It's just a different approach than what NOPEC is. NOPEC is a council of governments. We are a not-for-profit organization. We are currently comprised of 242 member communities across 19 counties in Ohio. The closest member community to you would be Lancaster. We're currently in discussions with Reynoldsburg, as well as many other Central Ohio communities who have decided that instead of going on their own, joining together with other communities that are like-minded and providing other benefits other than just the irrigation program. NOPEC provides a whole range of benefits to its member communities, from preferred pricing for your buildings, which is a tremendous benefit. There's energized grants, which come back to help you with energy funding types of things that you'd like to do within the township. There are PACE programs, which help for economic development. There's a Do Not Knock program. There's a whole bunch of programs that come back to communities. And the reason that that is because NOPEC is run by its members, and its members are communities. So the communities know exactly what they'd like to see from the organization. So it's not just a one-stop approach, it's more everything that you'd like to see, you can come to NOPEC and say, hey, would you do this for us? Could you look at this for us? So it's really we partner with you to provide not only the best aggregation program that you can have for your residents and small businesses, but that we can provide something back to the township. Not everybody in the township is going to participate in your aggregation program. Generally, 40 to 50% will end up being in the aggregation program. But the other benefits that come from NOPEC go to the entire population. So even those that are not in the program can benefit from the savings that you would provide to them from your tax base. So it's really an umbrella approach. It's a little different than what you're currently considering. So I just wanted to come and throw that out and say, if you'd like to have the opportunity to meet with us at some point, we would love to explore how NOPEC can really be a partner, not only for your aggregation programs, but for any environmental sustainability, ESG types of programs that you're contemplating. I don't know where your thoughts are as far as sustainability, but that's a huge part of what we're focusing on now. So we'd love to have the opportunity to come and talk with you. The markets have certainly stabilized, but we don't think they're quite there yet. Just yesterday, Energy Harbor got sold to a large group in Texas. So there's a lot of moving parts that are still going on with this upheaval in the energy markets. So I'd like to ask that at some point, if you'd have conversations with us, that would be great.
Okay, I believe we should.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jay Sell. I'm at 47 Timbero Court in Powell. I'm with Aspen Energy. This is John Biebert as well. He's been here before, I believe. So we just wanted to come offer our services again to the township, talk a little bit about who we are, and we'd love to have an opportunity to tell you more about us and what we do. Bottom line here is we have the expertise to be able to handle your aggregation program. We work with over 50 aggregations in the state of Ohio, and as NOPEC spoke about, there is quite a big change in the industry right now with the merger of Energy Harbor and Dynegy yesterday. It makes it even more important, in my opinion, to have your fee be transparent and have that something that's in writing so that you know exactly what you're getting, as the amount of aggregators that are out there that are competitive have shrunk yet again. So we can do the aggregation program at a fee of 50 cents. It's actually 45 cents per megawatt hour or 5 cents per MCF on natural gas. So our fees are transparent for you. Again, I believe we could lead a successful program, not only set up solid prices with the best suppliers in the industry, but also handle customer service personally moving forward. So anytime there's a question, instead of calling an 800 number at the supplier, which could be a call center anywhere, you can call us. We'll personally handle the calls, and I think that's an extra thing that we can do, an extra layer that would benefit the community greatly. So we really appreciate taking a couple minutes of your time to hear who we are and what we can do for you, and we'd love to be able to speak with you more about this if possible.
Okay, well, I would encourage that. Hopefully our board does.
Thank you.
Teresa Overshock, 484 Trail West. Since it looks like you have an open book of Proverbs to read it, let me start. This is the New American Standard Edition, chapter 1, verse 1 through 7. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, that men may appreciate wisdom and discipline, may understand words of intelligence, may receive training in wise conduct, in what is right, just, and honest, that resourcefulness may be imparted to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man, by hearing them, will advance in learning. An intelligent man will gain sound guidance, that he may comprehend proverb and parable, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Wisdom and instructions fools despise. Please be wise and not the fool. It's your choice.
Any other public comments?
Steve Perkins, 7352 Palmer Road. So I would encourage there to be more discussion on the whole aggregation thing. Personally, my opinion is not at any level, at the township level, but aggregation in and of itself has some corruption issues that are well above this level. Just ask Larry Householder, and that ties back Energy Harbor, formerly known as First Energy. There's some obvious problems there. I'm not going to speak to who anybody should particularly aggregate to, but I do know from personal experience in trying to get myself out of giving my money to companies that I don't think should have it. I think that it should be an opt-in program, not an opt-out. I've never seen anybody get upset by not being opted into something, but I have seen them get upset over having to opt themselves out of things that they didn't really want to be part of. Regardless of that, I know that a lot of people search for lowest price, but a lot of people shop with different companies for different reasons too. It's not solely a matter of price. I shop local hardware here in town for many different reasons instead of buying stuff on Amazon sometimes too. It just depends on the situation. But as far as Travell goes, from personal experience and observations as far as communication, even if I can't get my way on aggregation as far as opt-in versus opt-out, which I highly think it should be opt-in, not opt-out, I have the following proposal for as far as communication from any aggregator to the public at large, because as I saw from previous communications, it wasn't exactly done very well in my opinion. First off, I recommend that all correspondence on aggregation should come on the aggregator's letterhead and clearly indicate that the communication is from them, not by the township by implied proxy. So the last communication I saw kind of made it sound like it was from the township rather than from Travell. Two, that any communication regarding aggregation go to all township residents regardless of their aggregation status. Because there was, some people got it, some people didn't, and it seemed to be based off whether they were, or whether there was a change in their status or whatever the case may be, and it led to a heck of a lot of confusion, even amongst people like myself who try and stay educated on it. All correspondence should state the resident's current status with the aggregator, not necessarily whether they're in aggregation, but if there's a change of status, if they're approaching a change of status in their aggregation, whether they are opted in or opted out, and who their current provider is through that aggregator. 4, communicate any potential change in status in aggregation 45 days prior to any opt-in. Last time it was like 2 weeks. And lastly, clearly indicate the resident's right to opt out at any time and how to opt out. There's almost a vested interest in keeping most of the public dumb when they're automatically opted in.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins.
Steve Sly, 1372 Londondale Parkway, Newark, Ohio. So I find myself here today because my name was invoked at a previous meeting by the board president when talking to Mr. Evans regarding public records requests. So a couple things since I'm going to be here, I'll go ahead and address. I've listened to several meetings where Mr. Evans has suggested item number 3 on the agenda be made a permanent item so that you don't have to go and make the motion at each meeting to do it. Had that been done, item number 2 tonight could have been done with a 3-minute request, 3-minute speaking time. But instead, we wanted to adopt item number 3 on item number 2 without approving it on item number 3. So that might be a suggestion you want to consider for future meetings so that you don't run into what you had tonight. With regard to the public records request, it's amazing the requests that are submitted and that are kicked back as records do not exist, but yet copies of records have been proven showing they do exist. That just appears to be an ongoing pattern that is within this township. Previous boards, other board members, whether you agreed with them or disagreed with them, they always prepared for the meeting. They always presented items to each person on the board. Mr. Burkholder was a board member here at one time. He showed that same courtesy to people when he was the board president. Other board presidents have done the same thing. Board members they may not agree with, but they at least gave them the information needed so that when they came into the meeting, they were educated and being able to make a decision on behalf of their constituents. That doesn't seem to be the case with this current board. I will say, calling Mr. Evans at the most recent meeting pretty much a liar is the pot calling the kettle black, considering I've got records requests saying they don't exist when they do exist. I've got phone call logs and recorded conversations with former trustee John Carlisle indicating he works on the side talking to Mrs. McKee, telling her how the agenda should be run, who should be board president. Those discussions were being had, according to Mr. Carlisle, prior to January 1st, 2021 or 2022, when these individuals took office. So obviously there was an orchestrated plan in place at that time to determine the outcome of who was eventually going to be the president of the board. Whether it was done to set Mr. Evans up for a 3-month period so that they could take it away from him in an attempt to humiliate him and embarrass him in front of his constituents, they would only know the answer to that question. So again, I'm here tonight because again, my name was mentioned in a previous meeting. I've had a number of friends from the area from my time both on the school board out here, also my time in the township, that feel that a voice is needed to speak on their behalf, and they're afraid that coming forward would just continue to show retribution towards those people by doing so.
Is there any other public comments?
Hello again. My name's Judy Newman, 9630 Lynn's Road. I'm here again requesting a status update on Scanel. Nothing's been done. We've been fighting this for 2 years. I've been coming, asking for a status update for 6 months. I've received nothing. I've attended the Board of Commissioners meeting in Licking County. I've attended the Monroe Township Trustees meeting. And when a resident has a concern, they open communication and they answer your questions at the podium. You know, I'm not up here speaking to hot air and leaving here with no answers. I just don't understand why we're not being updated, why nothing's being told to us. I know that Scanel, Dan Harrington is making proposals. You know, we have a right to know. Our lives have already been ruined. I think we have a right to know that what they're proposing for the front, I mean, to me, the whole community should be upset. You know, they said that they weren't going to bring any more semis and they put in a major trucking company. And, you know, I mean, just drive by. They don't even maintain it. It's nothing but weeds. And I think something needs to be done. I don't understand why the township is not helping us on this. But if we have to, we're hiring an attorney, we're bringing the media in. Because we're fed up and we're not getting anywhere, and that's all I have to say.
Is there any other public comments?
Gary Burkholder, 254 Trail East. I've got a couple questions, also comments. And I guess, Mr. Johnson, my question would be, why are you against competition and transparency? on the treble contract. I do not support that contract. The residents, board member have been trying to get other presenters in here, and you consistently, intentionally block that. Why would you do business with a company that won't reveal their fee? And Mr. Taylor at the last meeting told a falsehood and told us that he had sent previous fees or current fees over, which he has not. I have an outstanding public record for those. So there's a total lack of transparency in that regard. My second question has to do with what was just mentioned. Why is there no update on Scannell? You don't return phone calls, you don't answer emails. I have a letter, finally Scannell has responded to the Licking County Commissioners. They're involved in this controversy now. They sent a letter out on March 1st. And Scannell, Mr. Harrington, the Senior Development Manager, claims that Scannell, and I read it, quote, has and will continue to use good faith efforts to resolve all remaining issues, including the drainage issue referenced in your letter. They have not engaged in good faith effort. You've been here 16 years. You're over the zoning department, and you have no answers. That's failed leadership. When are you going to answer the public? You have a duty. Do you have anything to say now?
Your turn.
I yield my time for an answer. I'll take the full 3 minutes to give you an opportunity to respond. It's a fair question. I've been working with the residents over there because what negatively impacts them impacts us all. It reduces the value of all the homes in the community. And it's not the only problem with drainage. But you, as you did at the past board, blindly follow the president of the board on every issue. I'll wait for an answer. As I said before, I'll continue to come and ask the questions. There we have it. Thank you.
Is there any other public comments tonight?
Actually, 75 Trail East. I did ask some of the people on one of the Facebook pages if they had any comments to let me know. So I was just going to go ahead and give you one of the ones that I got. I only got one response as of right now. But Linda Corniola wanted to know if there was 3 bids on the aggregate contract. She asked about paying for the administrator if they're going to share the resumes, which she was advised those are public records requests. So she also asked about live streaming for the meetings. I know I've talked to you previously and it was discussed for when you guys get an administrator, so hopefully we see that. And what is the fee Trebell receives from Energy, Harbor, and Archer? Archer is not on the Better Business Bureau. Energy, Harbor has a long list of complaints, and I have to say I did look. They do have a very long list of complaints. I'm also a little concerned about the aggregator. I mean, even Randy Bohr was concerned about the contract stating 41 months on one thing and 24 for the fees, which I understand. So hopefully if this is something that goes through, that's something that's been resolved. I have seen plenty of random fun stuff on Facebook lately. It always seems to come drastic before the meetings. I don't think that anybody has ever said they refuse to live stream meetings, which I saw in one of the posts. I actually believe that the first meeting that you guys had, it was agreed that you guys would look for people to put in bids and come up with a plan. And Mr. Evans, you actually took lead on that. You said you were going to handle that. Okay, well, I'm just saying, it was on you. You had 4 months to get that done. So I'm not trying to say that it's just your fault. I'm just saying that one you did take ownership of. There's a lot of other things that I made notes on about all of the posts that were a little bit insane. But there was a mention of a black hole of information. I can understand where some people might feel that way, but my husband asked about getting our curbs and sidewalks fixed in our neighborhood and who would be responsible, and he said he didn't get a response when I asked him. So I don't know if maybe he just missed it or something on that end, but we would like to know how to do that, just because the sidewalks are pretty rough and there's some areas where the curb is breaking apart. So Mr. Johnson, I know that's kind of under you now, if you wouldn't mind letting me know. But yeah, that's all I have. I also just want to say that everybody has made mistakes. I think if you own up to them, it makes you a better leader. That's all.
And I'll forward you my conversations with your husband because he was updated.
Yeah, maybe he missed it. I don't know.
Thank you. Is there any other public comments tonight?
I'm going to speak as a resident.
No, you can't do that,
Yes, I
Mr.
can.
Evans. No, you cannot. You cannot do that. No, you cannot.
Even Walter Rogers did that.
You cannot. Mr. Evans, I'm going to ask you nicely.
Mark Evans, 91 Old North Church Road. There is a continuing lack of records request compliance in the township, which goes with the lack of transparency. Our official officers' access to records have been removed so that she cannot comply. Ms. McKee now has control over access and refuses to supply the records. Information has been consistently withheld from me as trustee, even to the point of Mr. Johnson removing lockboxes containing keys to the township, locking areas for me and allowing files to be hidden. I've had to resort to performing records requests as a resident to get information, and I'm still not provided with it. One such request was made to the township and Trebell LLC, who is acting as an agent for the township for aggregation. The same Trebell that Ms. McKee appears to once again plan to shove through with the new contract. I requested documentation from the township and Trebell showing the fees Trebell has received, since they are contractually limited to a set fee. This fee, right here, both have refused to provide those documents. Ms. McKee and Mr. Johnson have also stonewalled any request for production of those documents. Why? What are you helping Trebell hide? Therefore, I've had to take extraordinary action of filing claims in court against Etna Township and Trebell LLC as agent for Etna Township to produce these records. Not only does each township trustee deserve to verify if Trebell lived up to their contractual obligation, but the residents need to know if they were overcharged and possibly do a refund. This is about ensuring what is being done is done for the benefit of the residents and not for Trebell at the expense of the residents. The willful lack of records production, and I've witnessed it myself, trustees stating no records exist when they do exist, is a violation of law. There will be more claims coming if this isn't rectified immediately. Thank you.
Go for it. The reason why I didn't adjourn the meeting tonight is we have a lot of business to take care of. And I want to get the business of the township taken care of. Mr. Evans was out of order to stand up to that podium as a resident. You cannot do that, okay? He is a trustee. You don't wear two hats.
Ms. McKee, you've attended meetings as a resident.
Excuse me. Ma'am. Public comments?
Alicia Zacher, Cumberland Trails. I'd like to know if Mr. Evans has a temporary restraining order against him. Do you? Do you? Did you allegedly assault somebody, sir?
I was assaulted.
Do you
I
have a
pressed
restraining order
I
against
pressed
you, sir?
charges.
Do you have a restraining order against you?
We will deal with that.
I'm happy to stand here for 3 minutes, just like Mr. Burkholder did.
Okay.
It's obvious by the way
Seek
you
initial
behave.
seek-
You
initial
don't listen,
seek up-
and you don't
initial-
respect
you want an
anybody
answer?
else. No, I don't. Well,
Okay, see, you don't
there's a
want an
case
answer.
number, so actually I do know the answer. I just was curious to see what you would say.
Yeah.
As usual, you attack and deflect and do everything else. Your behavior is disrespectful in every level. So it explains exactly how the behavior would go for you to have some type of alleged assault against you. It's clearly, it's clear. You have no respect for anybody. You don't recognize this office. It's pathetic. This is my 3 minutes, and I'm a township resident. And you embarrass us. Yes, people get online and watch it and make fun of us. You're humiliating us. You have no decorum at all. I think you should take that into consideration. Stop putting stuff all over Facebook, slandering everybody. You provide no documentation. What do you think about that, the way you behaved here tonight? All you did was waste time. It's 20 till 7 already.
Thank you. Is there any more public comments tonight? Okay, I guess we'll move over into the new business. I'll turn the meeting over to Trustee Johnson.
Point of order, we have an order of the fiscal officer appointment.
Excuse me, I'm going over to new business, and I need you to stay in your place. Mr. Johnson?
Currently, our zoning administrator or zoning inspector is out on medical leave. We need somebody who can sign a zoning order. We have Mr. McCullough we've employed to be the zoning officer rather than have to bond him. ORC allows us to assign that job to the fiscal officer to sign those things. And that way we wouldn't have to incur any other expense to the township. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint fiscal officer Julie Garian as an interim zoning inspector, which is how you do that, for ORC 519.16, enforcement of zoning regulations.
I'll second. Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
So basically, you just have to sign the zoning things that have been already looked over. So that's the extent of it. You don't have to do any zoning, you don't have to look at things, so at that point, we have done this before. We assigned Laura Rogers the same thing, we had issues.
I am highly unqualified for that job.
To sign anything?
Yes,
Okay.
for zoning especially.
That's fine. Which
And was anybody
Mr.
going to actually ask me prior to this appointment? Really, no one said anything. Was there any consideration on my part to actually ask me? You may have had a different outcome.
Oh, okay, for a signature? So you just signed, let me give you an example, Ms. Varian. Example, our governor is the governor of the state, and you have your directors in your different departments all over the state of Ohio. Then you have your zoning, like elevator inspector, different license that has to be signed off on. You don't have to have the experience to sign it, okay? It's just the signature. The zoning person's already taking care of the work. You're just using it as a signature under Ohio Revised Code, what allows the fiscal officer to do that. You don't have to do any legwork. You don't have to call anybody. You don't have to do anything, but it's just a signature. That's all it is.
So
And-
tell me how it's going to work that I can sign something that is completely ready to be signed. How would I ever know if the inspection happened?
Again,
There's a lot of liability on this. I mean,
that's again, I'm going to explain to you again. I don't have to be, as a director, I don't have to be an elevator inspector to sign the license. Just like liquor control. I don't have to be a liquor agent I'm a liquor agent, but if the director wants to sign the license after it's been through the process, they sign it. That's all there is to it, and that's all we're asking you to do.
What
But
did
we're-
anybody call the insurance company? Did they?
I did not. We have done this before when we did Walter Rogers.
Okay.
He had the exact same thing.
I
That solution,
listed
that was
on the
good.
insurance policy because I looked as the fiscal officer. If I'm covered under any other duty, I am unaware of that.
that's fine.
And I did see that Stephen Shalou is still on there, which I would highly recommend having him removed
Okay.
and put Freddie's name to protect Freddie himself while he's acting in this position for a couple of weeks. Because currently, Mr. Latella isn't even covered.
Well, we know Mr. Latella's not covered under, that's why we're asking you to do it under Ohio Revised
Otherwise, we have
Code.
to get him insured and bonded, which costs the
Yeah.
township more money, so he would rather
But
us
you're
do
taking
that.
out
I can do
Stephen's
that.
name and you're putting in Freddie. But there's no,
There's a process that you have to go through.
Yeah.
It's not just taking a name out, putting it in. It doesn't work like that. But that's fine. If you refuse to do it, that's okay. We can move on.
Well, I have discussion on
So
this.
let's go on to your
I
discussion.
have discussion. Number one, I saw an email from Ms. Varian saying she declined this, and a very snarky response from Ms. McKee back to her that Ms. Varian should be a team player. Now, this is coming from someone who has sent multiple threatening letters to our fiscal officer, who has refused to provide assistance to our fiscal officer, that has refused to provide the assistance requested of our fiscal officer, and you want her to take on more duties. And I'm sorry, but trust us isn't a reason to sign off on something. This board has had a problem with yes people for a long time. And Ms. McKee's description of the Department of Alcohol, that would be like bringing in somebody from agricultural and say, just sign this.
No,
Just,
it's not.
this is my time, Ms. McKee. For her to not even be asked to think that this board can force her as an independent office is astounding. That there's been no communication, and it is as easy as sending an email, as our secretary stated previously, to get people covered. There's no drawn out application. We have insurance in lieu of bond. And Freddie, it kind of concerns me that he's been participating as assistant zoning inspector while not being covered during this time. I already see he has a paycheck. So during this time, he hasn't been bonded. What are we doing here as a township? Can't we do what's right?
I'm not taking any money. I don't take any money. So I just want you to know that.
I just saw a paycheck.
I haven't signed any permits.
But again, why won't we just operate? We're a $10+ million organization with hundreds of $1 million of developments going on. And we can't just bond a person. This isn't a Kool-Aid stand that, hey, let's split the sugar and kind of do what's right. And again, you already knew that Ms. Varian declined this. So what was the purpose of putting this forward? Or Mr. Johnson, did you not see that email?
I saw it.
So then why would you propose it if she already declined? You can't make her do that.
Why are you speaking for her?
I'm speaking for myself as a board.
You
I don't
always
want,
constantly talk for her.
no, Ms.
That's
Varian is very qualified in
That's
the
fine.
fiscal
It's
realm.
just a shame that
She
you
is not
constantly
a
do
zoning
that.
inspector, nor should she be doing that. I heard that the plan was that it
Everything
was just to
in
be
this-
presented to her and she signs.
You have sabotaged everything that
wrong.
goes forward. You're wrong. Mrs. Brown, did you talk to Ms. Varian at all about this appointment?
When she was in the office the last time, I told her we'd done it in the past with Walter Rogers and that Jeff had proposed doing that. I let her know, but I don't know if you guys.
Okay.
Yes, I gave Ms. Varian a heads up that we had done this in the past when we were between zoning inspectors.
she said you might see your name on the agenda for zoning inspector. And then she talked a little bit about it. So it wasn't a total surprise, but I honestly thought someone would actually talk to me prior.
Okay.
We need to do what's right, put qualified people in these positions. If Mr. Latella doesn't feel qualified, or if there's some reason
Nothing
to
to
bond
do with
him.
qualified, Mr. Evans. It's called a signature. It's nothing to do with qualifications.
Mr.
Okay.
Latella has signed
That's-
previously, so he can now. Mr. Johnson, why would you not have him bonded?
Oh,
And Laura, isn't it as simple as sending the name? That's what you did for Stephen Shalou when we moved him over to
Well,
assistant
if I
zoning
recall, I
director.
thought Stephen was already, you told that I would take Stephen
Yeah.
off, so I was not aware he was
No,
still.
but adding him to it. It was
Yeah.
as simple as,
yeah.
it was as simple as adding
Time's up.
his
Okay,
name.
thank you. We'll just move on.
I withdraw mine.
You just wrote, okay.
I
We'll just
withdraw
move
mine.
on. All right.
Well, you can't withdraw it after.
Yeah, I can, I just said
You
I
just did.
withdraw it.
The withdrawal in your second.
I believe it has to be voted, because there's been discussion. Robert's rules.
You can just roll call and kind of die that, and
Okay.
Mr. Evans will refer that.
Okay. We'll just
It's up to you guys.
I thought I could always withdraw mine.
After discussion, Robert's rules. No withdrawal.
Would you prefer they roll call it, Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Baring?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
No,
Ms. McKee?
No. Okay, we'll move on to, I move to authorize the purchase of 2 laptops from Dynamic Networks not to exceed,
Point of order. Are we addressing the zoning commission?
that's the,
Again, Robert's rules following the order of the agendas.
Jeff has to take off the alternate because we need an alternate on the Senate.
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
all right, I'll make a motion
Sorry.
that we approve appoint Shelley Marie Ipack to the alternate of the zoning commission.
Shelley. I'll second. Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
None.
Evans, Mr. Evans?
Yes. Again, why are we not putting these out to the residents that wish to serve instead of cronyism being the theme of this administration of just appointing handpicked people? Nothing against anybody suggested, but it seems like this is just predetermined and picked of supporters and that. What every other entity puts these out, Pataskala does. Shelley is very familiar with that. She deals with a lot with Pataskala. That these go out, you put an application, who's interested in serving their community? We get them, we interview them as a board, and then we choose. Again, cronyism is handpicking the people you want without discussion, without proper procedure,
Who are you talking to?
the board.
First of all,
And I'm not,
she is a resident.
did I say she wasn't a, no.
So,
If you don't like them, you won't accept them anyway.
But we should be looking to get people, again, people want to serve.
and that's what she's
You don't give them the opportunity by hand picking and championing cronyism.
I don't get what's hand. Did you handpick her, Mr. Johnson?
Ms. McKay,
Yes.
I just want to let everybody know, Ms. Shelley Marie Ipack has attended almost all of the zoning commission meetings in the last year or two. She's been involved, there were work sessions, she came. When we had an issue with a member last week, I spoke with Jeff, she was willing to serve. Honestly, it wasn't Jeff that picked it, I suggested her because she's been attending and she knows what's going on right now.
Did you communicate that with Ms. McKee?
I communicated with Mr. Johnson one night after we had a meeting when we had a lack of a quorum, and I had to make sure and call somebody in just to figure out the meeting last week for a discussion. I talked to Mr. Johnson because he's over the zoning commission as a liaison.
Well, we should interview. We should go into executive session. And I move to table the appointment and authorize advertising the position to all residents. We cannot continue with this cronyism of appointing hand-picked individuals to serve.
Is there a
Yeah, she
second?
had a second. Rosalind seconded it and Jeff did, but he had.
But he's trying to-
I just put a motion on the floor to table this and to advertise the position in which a proper board would do.
So it died for lack of second. Mrs. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
And Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you know who these laptops are for?
I move to authorize the purchase of 2 laptops for Dynamic Networks not to exceed $2,400. Is there a second?
That for or from?
Not to exceed $2,400.
For or from, did you say?
I'm sorry?
Did you say for or from? You said,
Authorize the purchase of 2 laptops from Dynamic Networks not to exceed
oh, so we're getting
$2,400.
from them, is what you're saying?
Correct.
That's what I was asking. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll second.
Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
Who are laptops for?
Well, we're going to hire a new employee, and then we needed an additional laptop in case one of our laptops is down for a while. We'll have a second one in place.
Now, are these the same laptops that we have now currently?
No, because technology changed. We're using a different company, which is Dynamic Network. I think before I came on board here, you guys were using a different company,
Right.
which is no longer around. So we have a contract with Dynamic Networks. Yes, ma'am.
Bill, she's still around, you're just not using it.
Oh, is it
I think,
still around?
yeah, I
Okay.
had one, you guys think, Bill, she's
Okay.
out.
All right, so they're a little different, but they're basically
Yeah, so
the
we're
same.
trying to streamline everything into one place while we have it here, there, and everywhere, just one place.
So are we ignoring that one-time speaking on this? You guys are
Ignoring
going
what?
back and forth.
I was asking questions. Can I not ask questions or during my 3 minutes? Or, okay, I'm done now. I'm done.
Everything's a problem.
My discussion, you say 1 laptop is for a new hire. We haven't hired anybody.
We're going to, we've interviewed people.
You're sure? Because we interviewed people last year, we didn't hire administrators, so is this another predetermined outcome decided outside this meeting? Also, to have just an extra laptop, I recall, Ms. Varian, it's been several months, hasn't it, that Ms. Varian asked for a new laptop so she can put UAN on it and do her job, because I believe your current desktop is shutting down and having issues. That request has been ignored, but now we're getting 2 laptops as an extra and for an employee that we haven't hired yet but is predetermined.
All progress.
And this is what I'm talking about, that she does not get any support from this board. And again, you're ignoring what she needs and trying to give her more duties. That's just wrong. And have we put this out to bid? Just because we have a contract with Dynamic Networks to provide some stuff doesn't mean that that's going to be the best price. So I move to,
I'm gonna,
I guess, add to it. I'm
I
in the
haven't
middle
finished
of a
my
motion.
discussion before.
I move.
You can't move until I'm done discussion. I haven't had my discussion yet.
No, you can move at any time and then you deal with it, then you can have your discussion. But I move to include any laptop purchase approved, to include the laptop which Julie Varian, our fiscal officer, requested, and she even included the laptop needed with the specifications and that. I think if you're going to get just 2 phantom laptops that there's no use for right now, the least we can do is support our fiscal officer with her laptop request. Is there a second? There's a motion on the floor.
So it sounds like it died for lack of
So you
second.
don't want to support our fiscal officer.
So I'm
Again.
going to let it be clear here. UAN, we pay them yearly. And every 2 years, they give the fiscal officer a new laptop. So it's not our responsibility as a township to buy her personal laptop. They pay that, we pay a yearly fee to UAN they purchase her a laptop every 2 years. So that's how it's supposed to go, and that's how it does go.
Do you want to answer that,
They
Julie?
may supply me with a laptop, but UAN isn't on the laptop, nor can it be that
Mrs.
one.
Varian, they supply you with that laptop because they are responsible for the UAN program.
And because of the way that the network is set up in the township, it is not possible to put UAN on the laptop. I've tried.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead. Ms. Brown.
Mrs. Varian, through UAN, was provided a desktop. Mr. Walter Rogers did not want a laptop. So what she has is provided as a desktop from UAN.
Right.
She would have to check with the state to have it switched to a laptop. The laptop that Ms. Varian has is similar to ours. It wasn't provided by UAN.
So
I have
they do
checked.
provide a new
She had-
computer.
I have checked. It is
Yeah.
not possible to put UAN on the laptop.
I just
So-
wanted to clarify what you have at UAN is a desktop. not a
Yes.
And there's an
Okay.
issue with the desktop, so it needs to be.
So the desktop is here in the building, that means you would have to come in the building.
No, it's at
You
home.
took the desktop home, okay, so what's wrong with the desktop?
It doesn't like to turn on and turn off,
Oh,
which is kind of important to run an $11 million township.
Ms. McKee, as an IT infrastructure specialist and computer professional, I would think you'd be aware of these kind of things.
Mr. Evans, I'm more aware of information technology than you ever been. I've been involved in it for 30-something years. That was my career, with a master's degree. Okay, so
Can
you
we
don't
get
have to
straight-
try to belittle me. This has nothing to do with that.
Can we get
We're
straight
talking about Mrs. Varian's purchase of a laptop that the town, that the UAN, the money that goes in there that we pay yearly, will purchase that for her.
But Walter Rogers chose to have it on the desktop with a CD. That is the only option to have it because we don't have a network in order for me to access it online with UAN in a different way.
And I've seen multiple requests to get that set up. It's been ignored. Again, we have this person that knows more than anybody else and not addressing the issue.
You continue to try to, my name is always in your mouth, Mr. Evans. I'm sorry. Okay, you have sabotaged everything in this township that we try to do
Amen.
to try to make things better here. You constantly sabotage it and you don't tell the truth. So let's be honest. Don't
I'm trying to
It's you that have sabotaged it, and if you're gonna kick me out, you have to kick them out too.
You should be quiet. Seriously, you should. Yeah, you should be quiet. We know, you got to stop that.
Again,
Okay.
2 phantom laptops and ignoring the request of our fiscal officer.
Again, okay. Roll call, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move to add one cell phone to the township plan with T-Mobile not to exceed $69 per month. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
None.
Mr. Evans?
Yes, who's the cell phone for? Is this again the phantom employee that has not been hired yet, but will be hired because it's been predetermined outside the meeting that they're going to be hired today? It's a little cart before the horse here. Even if things were illegally predetermined out at the meeting, you would think this board would be smart enough to have the hiring first and then the support stuff for it. And again, specifically stating $69, this is what got us into trouble before when you approved your cell phone bill, and it was $69 and change. And the fiscal officer could not pay that because that wasn't authorized. This is just part of running a business. Do up not to exceed $80 a month, because many times the taxes change just by a few cents, and you're going to cause a lot of havoc. This is a $10 million plus business. We need to run it like that. And again, if this is for an administrator, this is not appropriate until we've actually hired somebody. So I move to table this until such time there's actually a need. Because if this board doesn't agree to hire somebody, we just have a cell phone sitting there. Unless, again, it was predetermined illegally outside the meeting that they know we're going to hire somebody today. Well, if you know that, how about sharing it with the board?
What we know is somebody will eventually get hired, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, we posted the position, we interviewed, you were part of the interview panel.
No, I was not.
Oh,
I
really?
still don't know who
Okay.
was interviewed
Okay.
February 3rd. There were 2 phantom interviews, one that did not submit an application and one that did not submit a single email. And I had to find that out through an email that Laura Brown sent to our fiscal officer. So who was interviewed?
This is not what this is not.
Are you going to disclose it when we
We
get
are
to the point who was
discussing,
interviewed?
we are discussing a cell phone purchase right now. So we're going to move on to that. You're not going to control the meeting, Mr. Evans. You're not going to control it. Mrs. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move to approve the payment of required fees and necessary expenses for the township administrator to attend county, state, national, and emergency training conference, seminars, and conventions. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
None.
Mr. Evans, discussion?
Well, again, it sure looks like it's been predetermined that a person's going to be hired without it actually being done. This is kind of like ordering and shopping for curtains before you buy a house, unless you knew you were buying the house. That's illegal. Mr. Johnson admitted they used to do that in the prior board.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. In that meeting, you said you would discuss everything, you just wouldn't vote. That is against the law. You cannot have discussions. You did.
Don't throw your opinions
I have it on video.
out as fact.
I have it on
okay?
video.
Don't throw your opinions out as fact.
I have it on video. So, again, and even round robin, that's where Ms. McKee would go to our secretary, they discuss something, she would go to Mr. Johnson, discuss something, that's illegal. So, we should be transparent. I have no problem talking about anything in public, and the rest of this board should too. So, it's, again, it appears to be predetermined. This is the third thing that would be needed for administrator. Again, we haven't even decided. Well, we went through the whole process last year, and for a year, we haven't had anybody. We didn't hire an administrator.
Changing this year.
So
let's
it's
move
changed.
forward.
Yep.
Mrs. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. We'll move over to old business, which is Trebell. I move to approve Trebell EMA with the LOA. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, please limit your discussion to 3 minutes, Mr. Johnson.
None.
Mr. Evans?
I am astounded that this board continues to ignore everything, even our county commissioner, Tim Bubb, who said Trebell must be upset because a cash cow is being disturbed. We have aggregators here willing to present. This board wants to ignore that. Why? As I stated, I filed a claim with court to force the township and Trebell to state their fees. I've investigated 3 of our contracts. All 3 of them, they violated. 2 were attorneys, which got us significant refunds because they weren't charging what they were supposed to. 1 was the trash company that wasn't providing the services they weren't supposed to. Don't you think we should make sure that Trebell was providing that? And Larry Taylor did lie, unless that email is being withheld. I believe he told the reporter that I must not have just seen it or read it. There is no email. If there is, why wasn't it produced under the records request? It would be so easy for them to say this is what we did, but the way it works is they get the bid and they add their fee onto the supplier, and you never see what money they make. So they could just say, well, we want to make a little bit more. Johnny's got to go to college. Now, don't you think before we extend this, that you get that verified? You guys have actually blocked that. That's shameful. And what about the 41 months thing? I just got the contract now. again, is that in there? The underlying term is 41 months, when the aggregation terms are 2 years? Who does that benefit? Not us, not the residents. It only benefits Trebell by locking us in. That's like having a cell phone contract for 2 years, or renting an apartment for a year. But you got a sign saying you have to rent from that management agency for the next 10 years. It makes no sense. And in my opinion, something shady's going on. There's a lot of red flags. To not even talk to other aggregators that have been asking since August. Ms. McKee and Mr. Johnson has done it, and it's costing you more money. The other aggregator has said their rates are cheaper. So right now, if this passes, you're paying more than you would have if we would have went with the other person. And I'm not saying go with that other person, but don't you think we should have a discussion with everyone? There's no discussion going on in this board. Approve, no discussion. They're going to want to pass it. I'm the only one that wants to discuss here. That's corrupt.
Okay, roll call, Ms. Varian?
Mr. Evans?
Hell no.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move to approve Archer Energy Natural Gas Program at 0.5990. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
No.
Trustee Evans, 3 minutes.
Yes, again, Trebell, going back to August, I've asked them what their fees are. They're required per the contract at a set fee. They're required to provide those documents. They aren't. And this board, these two trustees are complicit in that. And again, I had to file a claim with court to enforce it. I've been told by our own attorney that a judge needs to get involved on matters to slap Ms. McKee down. This is outrageous conduct here, and it's not for the benefit of our residents. Now, in my opinion, the only reason to hide your fees when you're contractually obligated to provide those and stick to them is if you charge more. And if they charge more, that's a huge scandal. And I believe all residents deserve a refund. Now, should we investigate it? And if it was true that they abided by it, it'd be easy for them to say, look, Mr. Evans, we did abide by it, egg on your face. They're not doing it. Why? And why, Ms. McKee and Mr. Johnson, are you doing this to your neighbors? If this was your own money, spend it any way you want.
I live in
This is my time. This is my time.
I'm answering.
And no, I'm not. This is my time. This is outrageous. This is what Larry Householder and First Energy were involved with, corruption, and we're following. Ms. McKee, you put in for his seat. I think it's appropriate that your actions follow here. This is outrageous when we have 2 emails showing lower rates. What is going there? What is the reason that you want to give it to Trebell without talking to anybody and they have documented higher rate? Please answer that to the residents, because I'm a resident too. I want to know. Because we have a fiduciary duty that if we enter into these aggregation programs, that we get the best deal for our residents. There's actually aggregators out there that when their fee is higher than the utilities, they actually send them back and forego their fees. Shouldn't we talk to those? We have 2 here that they've showed up, they've taken their time to show up. Aspen Energy, this is the 2nd time that I've asked for presentation time, and they've spoken under public comments. We've had Palmer Energy come in. Tim Bubb, are you discounting his experience and what he said? Again, why would somebody vote to not talk to anybody else and go with somebody with higher rates?
Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Varian?
No discussion.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move to approve Energy Harbor Electric renewal at 0.0699. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, please limit,
We still do Energy Harbor Road, even though it's
That's
supposedly,
a part of the electric company, yeah.
I mean, they're bought by,
Yeah, did you read your contract there, Mr. Johnson?
no.
It's in there.
So you didn't read the contract?
It's different on this agenda.
That's a big
You'll
one.
notice
So it's all as part of Trebell.
It's different on the contract?
the reason the rates are different on the agenda is because they went up since the last time It's not what's on our agenda.
The rates change. It's just like going to the gas station. Your rates change daily.
Wow. Where's it at?
He updated the rates within
Just
the
more
this
than-
afternoon.
Oh.
And those were,
This is that one.
and Mr. Johnson did not read this contract. Yet he's been voting on it.
You didn't read the contract?
No, I read it.
I was gonna say, I thought you.
Not the new rate or the new rates in there. Different.
Oh, because the rate just came out today.
The
Yeah,
the paperwork is the same, Jeff, from that what Trebell gave you the last
Yeah.
time, other than the rates.
You can't make this stuff up.
But you do,
Mr. Latella,
Yep, you do.
but you do.
That's
I
what
have
he
all the
does.
proof right here.
Just lie all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one same one I had.
As an employee.
Yeah, that's what happened.
You
Mr.
have a code of
Johnson.
conduct here, sir.
Today, it
My
was
code of
changed
conduct
today.
is very good, sir.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, which one, is this the right one for?
Did you guys get a second on that, because you're in the discussion now?
Yeah, I second
Yeah,
it.
yes. Mhm.
So what is the rate?
This is the
I
correct,
just read it.
this is,
The electric rate is 0.0699.
And on that one, they have the KW each.
Yes, KWH. Mhm. And that just came in today.
Yeah, he has the-
Can can we have the aggregators comment on this raised rate?
No,
Yeah, you don't want to hear
No.
from anybody, do you? So are we having a discussion?
I'm done.
Yeah, you don't want discussion, just shove it through. So I have discussion. This rate is even higher than those shown by other aggregators as what we would get. So you're pushing on our residents even higher rates without discussion, without even reading this paperwork or knowing that the contract, the price has gone up. What else has changed in there? Mr. Johnson, you questioned the 41-month contract before. Of why? Why would you approve an underlying contract that's longer than the aggregation term when every other aggregator I talk to does not do it? Because it only benefits one entity, the aggregator, to trap you in. So all of a sudden, you're fine with the longer contract. You want to do that to the residents, trap them in there, where if there's issues, and again, Trebell is not transparent about their fees. So you're just giving them as much money as they want, because again, what happens is they add whatever fee they want onto it. They'll get a bid and be like, I want to make twice as much. And under the current contract that we're under, their electric fee is 440% higher than other aggregators I've spoken to that are transparent about their fees. They would love to get Trebell's fees. And there's been numerous organizations that have had issues with Trebell and have actually dropped them. Have you spoken to any of those? I mean, I guess if you're not going to read the contract, you're not going to do anything else. This is just astounding. And I thought Scott Belcastro was going to come here, Mr. Johnson. You said, can't Scott come here and talk to us? Where is he? Same place your answer is. And I'm sorry, but this is wrong. I've fought for this township for over 3 years, not gonna stop up here. I get contacted all the time about what Traybell's doing, what
No.
this board is doing.
That's not true, Mark.
It is true.
Very, very few.
Why do you think people are here?
No, they've had the ones that you conjured up. That's all. That's all.
Conjured up.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You harass them in a meet, down at the conference. You harass people. You harass this company.
Asking for their fees is harassment?
Come on.
I'm the one that got a
email.
threatening letter from Traybell. That's a way to be a
What
partner.
threatening letter?
Yeah, you
got
saw
a
it.
threatening letter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Same kind of letter that you sent Miss
What
Varian.
threatening letter did you get, Mr. Evans?
You were copied in it. Do you not read your email? Lord.
Okay.
Traybell is upset because we're talking to other people.
Mrs. Varian, please do a roll call for us.
Mr. Evans?
Okay, heck no.
Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Wow. Can't wait till that court case goes through.
We have been, another threat. We have been advertising for a administrator. Oh, let me go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to sign the documents for Trebell, that I will sign those documents for Trebell. Is there a second?
Second.
So you're going to move to authorize Trustee McKee to sign the Trebell contracts?
You seconded, Jeff? Okay.
Yes.
And then, discussion, Mr. Johnson?
None.
Mr. Evans?
Well, I'm shocked that you're actually getting permission because the last Traybell document that you signed, you did on your own without board authority. And that was to kind of go around and put everybody back into the aggregation
That's not
program
true.
that was outside of it.
That's not true, Mr.
There
Evans.
was no board
There you
action.
go.
And those opt-out letters that you got, that was because of her sole action, not the action of this board. Again, this is just shocking. I've got no other words.
Yeah, it's interesting that everything that I and Jeff do is wrong, but everything you do is right.
Stop breaking the law and rules.
Okay, well, and be honest and stop lying to the residents. Okay, thank you.
I think they see.
Oh, I'm glad they do. Yeah. We have been advertising for an administrator for the township. We hired Bill Vance to come in and work with the township, and he spent about 9 months with us to look over some of the work that we do here in this township in the office. And he worked really hard here, and we really enjoyed his work with the township. As you know, he's not here. He gave us a 30-day notice because we wanted to move on to hire an administrator here in the township.
Wasn't he through the 11th?
And tonight, we want to talk about hiring an administrator. We posted it. We had several interviews. The last day of the posting was February 10th. We interviewed several people, and tonight, I don't know, I got to find out what is the pleasure of the board tonight into hiring somebody to work in that position. It's a full-time position with the township.
How much are you suggesting to pay?
So I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Johnson.
Can you say who was interviewed on the February 3rd meeting that I was not there due to COVID? And that the board still refuses to disclose? Ms. McKee, are you going to disclose who was interviewed? Because There's been many records requests, and I mean, you won't even tell a fellow trustee who was interviewed, and again, I found out through Laura that someone was interviewed without an application, without a resume, and not even a single email to the township. How is that possible? How was the person, anyone, determined to be interviewed when there was no board discussion about who should be interviewed? That, again, sounds like collusion outside
Mr.
the meeting.
Evans, do you-
When I was president and we were interviewing people, we determined in public who we were going to interview, when we were going to interview, and it was transparent. So Mr. Johnson, who did you interview February 3rd, that Friday, when I was out for COVID, that one of those individuals didn't even submit a resume or email? How did you become aware of them?
Do we have a motion or anything on this? Or we just talking?
I just made my statement. I would ask you to, I'll turn it over to you to,
Do you want to?
Do you want to turn it over to me?
I move Resolution 23030701, resolution hiring and establishing the terms and condition of an employment for Etna Township Administrator as presented. Is there a second?
Rosalind, you guys had to discuss filling in these blanks before you could do it as presented.
Yeah.
Laptops to no one, contracts to no one.
I'll second for discussion to fill these in. So, in the preamble, where it talks about the board desires to employ, the name in there is Nita Hanson for Township Administrator. Effective date, we're looking at, what, 2 weeks from today? Is that what we were thinking, or
2 weeks.
was that it? Normally we have 2 weeks, so you want to make it first the pay period? You want to make it 2 weeks from today?
What name did you say, Mr.?
Nita Hanson. 3/18? Is that the day that would be a good start? That's why you know what size. 3.
Mrs. Hanson, can you please come up to the podium and give us the date that you're able to start your new position here with the township? Hi.
Thank you. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to meet you. As I am currently employed, I would need to give my employer at least 2 weeks' notice. I am a commercial litigator, and so I do have some hearings that are already scheduled that I will need to ensure that my clients are covered for those things should the township vote to employ me this evening. So I would just need a little bit of flexibility. It couldn't be any less than 2 weeks from today, and I might need to have a little bit more of a window so that I can ensure that my clients' needs are met and that,
When's April 1st
that I
anyway?
fulfill that my professional obligation to
Yes,
them.
ma'am. Okay.
Huh?
So,
It's a Saturday, 2nd, 3rd, so maybe the 3rd, would that be a good day? Would that work for you,
Can I ask you a
Julie?
question? When did you interview?
Okay.
okay, so one,
April 3rd?
so you want to go with April?
Was it
is
April 3rd, that Friday?
Is that a good date for you, Mrs. Hanson? Or is
Mr.
that-
Evans, I don't know exactly the answer to your question.
Of when you interviewed?
I mean, it was in February. I don't know exactly. I'd have to, I guess, look at my calendar. Miss McKee, did you
Yes.
have a question?
Yes, ma'am. April 3rd, is that a good date for you?
Yeah,
Is that-
that'll probably work just fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is that okay? So we can put April 3rd?
I understand that my interview was in executive session, so I don't know how that fact would impact any disclosure in a public meeting.
Okay, well, it was that, I'm guessing it's the February, that Friday. Didn't you send your resume in on Monday? The following your interview?
Never sent a resume in, so why are you going to try?
Oh,
to
you never
refer
sent
to
a
the-
resume in? I'm trying to understand this process here because
I'll
it
second.
seems to deviate from standard practice. I'm trying to understand. Did you send a resume
So
in?
as I understand, all of this information would be not subject to public disclosure because it has to do with conduct in executive session, so I would be happy to
If
talk
documents are
to you.
provided in executive session, they're public record, and if they're sent to the township, they're public record.
It would be subject to a written public records request, I assume.
There are outstanding ones, and they're not being complied with, but
So I don't have any control over that, Mr. Evans.
Correct, but you will if you're hired. There's been no emails, there's been no anything. Mr. Johnson I'm trying to understand, Mr. Johnson suggested you, or was it Ms. McKee?
What? Suggested what?
What matters?
What do we suggest?
What
Well,
matters? He's
it
trying to
matters
put you
because
in a trap.
the person that we didn't know we were gonna hire, that you're just throwing out names, just happens to be here. And if it was at the February 3rd meeting that Friday, it was an improperly advertised meeting, and
That's
that
not
can be
true.
challenged, any
That's not
actions
true.
from that meeting. I'm all about following the rules and law. As a litigator, I would hope you would be too.
Yeah,
And that's been an issue in this township for quite a while, so not having the opportunity to speak with you is concerning, that they wouldn't even say, yes, we interviewed. I give you props that you did show up here. Mr. Vance, when he was hired, didn't even show up.
So I'd be happy to address, give you some of my background, whatever information you'd like to have. I am a resident of Etna Township. We've been residents here since 2000. My husband and I are property owners as well. We have commercial properties in Etna Township. I was,
Do you have administrative experience?
in my background, I was a litigation paralegal for almost 25 years before I went to law school. I went to law school at night, and so I was litigation paralegal by day and law student by night for 4 years. I was admitted to the practice of law in 2008. I practiced intellectual property law for 5 years, and then I've been with my current law firm since 2012. So I've handled a myriad of different kinds of commercial disputes, which, as you know, can be contentious and difficult from time to time. I have managed staff members. I've managed a case schedule that requires, ensuring that all deadlines are met. I do not have specific experience as a township administrator.
That's my concern, because we have applicants that did have that experience, and we need lawyers, but we have the county prosecutor, we have outside counsel.
That has nothing to
And
do with it.
And again, this should have been dealt with in that, but I swear we received an application the Monday after that meeting, and you're saying that wasn't you that sent it in after the fact?
I believe the Monday after that meeting was from Jody.
Okay, Jody, that was the different one, but, so there was no application received. I've never seen any application, right?
I don't know if you've seen it, you haven't.
I'm just concerned about the apparent irregularity of this hiring.
Is there
Ms.
any,
McKee, when you're ready.
Ms. McKee, do you have anything else for me?
I don't, thank
Okay,
you.
I
thank you.
believe,
Yeah,
since
something
she
to say.
gave you that date, I believe if you put Anita Hanson for the employee, your hiring's name.
Yes.
You do April 3rd on the other spot.
Yes.
And then on page 4, it's going to be today's date,
Today.
I believe. This resolution shall be effective
Today.
May 7th. And that should take care of all your blanks
Yep.
that I'm aware of.
What today's date? March.
Do we have a pay
And
rate?
then it's whatever resolution number you're on.
Wait a minute. Oh,
On your-
May 7th. This is
Well,
May
it doesn't
7th.
matter, we just want to need one.
Ms. McKee, do we have a pay rate that I can
Yes.
put into my system?
It's
Number 4. Did you get a copy of this?
compensation. It's in your packet. Looks to me like that's gonna be number 1.
Oh,
Well, prior contract I saw that Ms. McKee did not forward to me, but luckily our prosecutor did, stated rate of $130,000. And this one does too. Right at the bottom.
Correct.
It's public record. What's with the all wanting to be secret? I make $24,304 a year. And this is at will. I know there was an attempt at a contract before. This is not how Mr. Vance was hired improperly, and this just continues.
Want a roll call?
Yeah, why have any more discussion? It's been
Mr.
predetermined.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. I move to ratify the payment of the above listed bills for February as shown on the payment listing. Is there a second?
These
Are we doing the check register?
Yeah,
Or
the check
first?
register.
You want to do that first?
Well, this one right here.
Well,
Right?
that's the way I have it here on mine.
It's your check register, this one, right? So we're approving that to approve the check register, same thing, right? Is this, that's what we're calling check register? Okay, yep, I'll second.
Thank you.
Isn't the check listing what we're approving now, not the check register? That was prior payments?
It's the way,
Julie had a check register, but did you say something when you came in tonight? Which month is that for?
February.
Oh,
It's
this
the
is the
bank
payment.
rec.
This is payment of bills, though.
The bank rec.
You're
for-
talking about the bank rec, or you're talking about
The
this
bank rec
thing?
for January.
Or this?
That's not it.
It's not it. So,
It's really thick.
so the check register, you're not this is not
Just-
check
Can
register.
we just change the motion to say, motion to approve the January bank reconciliation?
Which is in here.
Or just reconciliation? It's in there.
This right here is what you're talking about.
Yes.
All right. Did you see this, Rose? Do you want to see it?
Yes.
Here, I'll give you this whole folder.
Just for the record, and you guys just want to withdraw that and correct it.
That's
the way
correct.
she had-
Correct.
she had it
Yes,
today.
I withdraw.
So are you going to
My-
make a motion to approve the January bank reconciliation?
I'll make a motion to approve the January bank reconciliation.
And Jeff, you're going to second it?
I will. Second.
Now you guys are in discussion, needing roll call when you're done. with
Yes.
discussion.
Yeah, I like to get these here earlier in the day, so I can have access to them, so we don't have to go through them while we're sitting here. We can get these on Monday by noon. That would be nice.
Maybe if she had a
I know
computer
you
that
were doing
worked.
that before, excuse me?
Maybe if she had a computer that worked.
You know what? Not even worth it. But Ms. Varian, you have been getting these over here, and I appreciate it. It kind of makes it a little bit easier when you do that. So I would prefer to, there you go. Now I need to look through this stuff. I would prefer to look through this after the meeting to sign in.
I think they have the thing on top, so on the road on right now, though.
Yeah.
You can have it for as long as you want.
saw this earlier. Saw these earlier. Sorry, we normally have these earlier. I can look through them, but we just got them tonight. No, I'll go through it now. I don't want to table it.
Just table it till next time.
No, no. Oh, okay. Roll call, Ms. Marion?
And Mr. Evans?
I'll abstain because I've never even seen it, so I abstain.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Thanks for letting me review.
Sign later. So we're not going to have to ratify this, so the resolution to approve the purchase order.
Just this one right here.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Can we do this one?
Yes, please.
All right. I move a resolution number 23-03-07-02, correct, Laura? Number 2?
Yep.
All right. To approve the purchase orders as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
None?
Mr. Evans?
Yes, are we tracking these expenses for the attorney's fees that we should be getting reimbursed from Elbers and all those?
Yes.
Okay, because I know that was something Mr. Vance was supposed to do, and then,
I created a sub-category account to track it by jet.
okay, I appreciate you, John. That was my only question.
Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. So we can move on over to the announcement.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the payments as presented of bills, payments of bills as presented for March.
March as shown.
Yes.
I'll second. Discussion, Mr. Johnson?
None?
Mr. Evans?
Yes, I have a question about William Vance's payment. Again, I brought this up earlier. He was contracted, his last day was supposed to be the 11th, but I saw that he left a week early. Should that be addressed, or, you know?
I don't
what?
think it needs to be addressed. He's off a week early. What's wrong with that? Is there a problem with that? That you don't.
Well, that would be a violation of the contract,
No.
and should payment be different
No,
then?
he doesn't work. He works, he gets paid for the hours that he works. And if he didn't work that additional week, he
He gets
doesn't
paid
get
per
paid.
month.
No, he puts his hours in.
He's not hourly.
Mr., yes. Yes,
It was hourly based.
yes, thank you. So I don't know why you're worried about him, he's gone, I know you didn't get along with him. But
His
you continue
contract
to
was
bring this man's
It
name,
was
he's
for
not here anymore.
$42.50 a month. That's my question of, things are being changed outside the board without board approval. And then I did have a question on Brochus and Griggs. I received a bill from them, and there was 7 charges from January 3rd through January 9th when there was no appropriations and no approval for Ms. McKee to incur those expenses outside the meeting. The approval for their engagement was terminated at the end of 2022. So we should not pay those. As I read in I think it was the auditor's handbook, that if you incur spending without appropriations and without approval, you just donate it to the township. So either Brochus and Griggs has to wipe those out, or Ms. McKee, you've got to be responsible for those fees.
That's not true.
Yes, and there was no appropriations. We didn't have any until the 10th.
All you do is fight us.
No, I want us to do what's proper. Follow the law and
It is
rules.
done properly.
And additionally,
All you do.
on their,
Trouble.
this was a firm that was charging more than they should have, which, because I inquired, we got over $4,000 back. Now, these invoices only state hours with a total at the bottom. Each person is individual.
Rick's appear on there.
Well, you don't want to talk about issues?
No,
with bills?
we're all staying on the subject.
Oh,
Are they
okay.
on this listing?
Okay.
They're not on this listing, so
All right.
I don't know where you're going with it, but it's not on the listing.
We're just under announcement and trustee comments.
Yeah,
that's
you
all.
can discuss it then.
Yeah, you would, I think you're still ratifying the bills, you have a
Oh.
roll call back.
Yeah, we have a roll call on that, so if you want a roll call on that.
Okay, roll call, Mrs.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Announcements and trustee comments are limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Johnson, you have any
No,
comments?
I don't have any, except for the fact I want to welcome our new employee to the township. Thank you as a resident of township, and thank you for your job.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Evans? What you got to say?
Where do I start? We need, hopefully with the new administrator coming in, she'll restore some proper administration of this township. My questions were not about her character, her abilities, or anything. It was about the process, and it was flawed and it was inappropriate, and that needs to end. I wish her the best of luck, and we've got a lot of challenges. And all I ask is you follow the rules and follow the law. As an officer of the court, I expect that you're very familiar with that.
Thank you,
So,
Mr. Evans. I think I'm up for the challenge. so.
okay, good. But I'd just like to let everybody know, since we don't have any updates on reports or anything, the Schuster Way Road dedication to the township is moving forward. We're getting very close. This was that $1 million grant reimbursement that I had to fight for, and we almost lost. Ms. McKee voted against. But we will be getting that soon, be able to apply for that and repay the loan to the developer. So that's great. I was able to get the 629 grant reports completed again this year. During so, I met with Coles and addressed one of their concerns about the crosswalk at 310. Contacted ODOT to get that addressed with them, and also another issue for a resident on 40 and Circle Drive. As you can see today, we need more transparency, and it's a shame that I as a resident had to file in court. And I hope that changes, but enough's enough. And as I said, even one of our attorneys said, I try to tell Ms. McKee what's proper, but unless a judge does it, it's not going to stop. So unfortunately, we've moved into that direction now. The outstanding records requests, I mean, they were back with Carlisle. There's still some of the video security when that race of snow was left on my truck. That still wasn't complied with. and it continues now. Mr. Johnson, you're saying no records exist when records do exist. You qualify saying, well, anything copied to me, or, no, if you hold records, you have to produce them. Ms. McKee did that to Mr. Sly. No records exist with a smiley face, and I found records. We need to follow the rules and law. Follow the Roberts rules, follow the resolutions of this board.
Time's up.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I believe Mr. Evans still has that DVR from that records he's talking about. John, Jeff, didn't you take that DVR to fill that records request?
I do not have
That's
it.
the one you had.
Our fiscal officer has it as custodian of records.
Did you have to sign that out?
Did you take a year to fill it? You took it at the beginning of the
Julie,
year to pull it off.
Did you sign it back in and he gave it to you?
No, it's not signed back.
Sign it in what, we don't have an
You signed it
inventory.
out. You signed that DVR out. I have.
What year was
that? I'll tell you about that.
How much you had it for?
In January.
Do we have an inventory for the township?
Mark, I'm asking you about the thing you signed
The
out. Did
fiscal
you sign
officer-
it back in? And you
fiscal
were supposed
officer
to provide that record.
She was about to throw your name out. You ought to be, you ought to be.
I'll
sign
it whenever you'd like.
You have it? All
But
right.
Mr. Evans has to sign he returned it because Mr. Johnson had him sign it out. It's a piece of equipment.
Can I ask where the sign out for the NVR that Ms. McKee took was?
Mark, I'm talking about the NVR you took. 'cause
I'm talking about-
You just brought it up.
I'm talking about that
What
one.
about that? You just brought it up.
Rules for thee and not for me.
No, wait a minute, you have that. You did a public records request, and you do have the public records request.
I don't have the
Each person
ability
signed
to
it.
spend funds to get it off.
You had signed off on that inventory sheet. We sent it to you. You did a records
I
request.
don't, well,
So
it's still
stop
not complied with,
lying again.
so, all right, I'll make a motion to engage with SOS, Rob Levins, to pull the requested footage off the NVR. Is there a second? And this will comply with the records request.
That wasn't Rob Levins' DVR, it was Mike Fox's. Rob Levins had.
Oh, that a whole can of worms there.
Really?
You made a motion.
And video is still being illegally overwritten.
Second.
Well, you gotta say, is there a second?
Yes. Is there a second?
Thank you, Mr. Rattel.
Guy for that's the second. Roll call.
Mr. Evans.
What are we roll call?
What do we,
We're gonna adjourn. We're gonna adjourn. Let's adjourn.
Comment,
Let's adjourn.
So, I need a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Did you change this in any kind of way? This is weird.
That's January, and I was gonna talk about that tonight, but I can talk about it first tonight. Wait, we gotta do roll call. So, Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes. Let me get a chance to